Welcome to the Eli and Mike Show live. We're sitting here with Mr. Dr. Z. Welcome,
Hey.
welcome. So
Thanks
excited to have
thanks
you.
for having me, you guys. It's
Anytime.
amazing to be here. I know it took us a little bit of time to get started because we had
Yes.
so much fun getting to know each
Yes,
other a
sir.
little
Right,
bit.
right.
But
Exactly.
man, this is amazing. I'm happy to be here.
Love
Thank
it, love
you,
it. Yeah,
thank
we
you.
couldn't. We didn't want to start the cameras because we just kept talking.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. Love it, love it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you appreciate you coming here.
Yes.
So where are you from? Where are you originally from?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually a local Southern California kid. I grew up in Diamond Bar, California.
Okay.
And, maybe just a little 1 hour away on the outskirts of LA, little, Asian American community over there.
Okay,
Okay.
love it, love
Yeah.
it. And you grew up there. And how about this? Tell the audience, what do you do for work?
Yeah. Happy to introduce myself. I'm a veterinarian here in Southern California. I'm recently just moved back into my hometown, where I grew up to open my own practice
Wow.
and, give back to the community that helped raise me after, 7 years of kind of jumping around Southern California area from Whittier to Hacienda Heights, to El Monte,
Okay. So you're
it's
an
been a-
SGV guy, huh?
yeah, a little bit like right outside the SGV.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in the SGV.
Yeah.
Okay,
Me too. I grew
okay.
up in La Puente in West Covina.
West Covina.
Yeah,
See, that's
yeah.
I practiced in West Covina for the last year and a half of my life. So
Okay,
it's
wow,
cool.
there
It's
you
cool.
go.
Okay.
Wow.
Love it.
And,
love
and
it.
and what made you fall into this career of yours? Obviously, I'm sure you have a lot more to that story, but
And actually, it's Dr. Z. So, doctor, you look so young. Can you actually tell us your age? I need to know this first.
No. Good question. I'm actually 35 years old.
God.
The wrinkles probably give it away
Not
nowadays.
even. What the heck? I was like 20. Like,
Stop.
I was like, oh my God.
No.
Wow.
It's what keeps me young is actually, I love this field so much.
my
And
gosh.
I'm not even gonna lie. It sounds corny, right? But the last 7 years of my life over here, every day in the clinic hasn't really felt like work.
Wow.
It's felt more like just fun, and the money comes
Oh my
in.
God, I love
So
that.
I'm pretty blessed. I'm pretty blessed.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And going back to my original question,
Yes,
so
yes.
what made you fall into becoming a veterinarian?
Yeah, good question. Good question. It's every veterinarian has a different journey. Some people, want to be vets since they were
Yes.
like 9 years old,
Right.
10 years old, little kids. I
Mhm.
actually am a little bit of a late bloomer.
Okay.
I didn't really know what I wanted to be after graduating college. I didn't have much of a career or anything like that. Honestly, I was a little bit of a loser. I
wow,
was
okay.
stocking, frozen fish at, I don't know if you guys know Galleria supermarket. It's like this,
Oh, we do.
small, like little Chinese supermarket in the
Okay.
SGV
Yeah.
area.
Uh-huh.
And after I graduated college, I had a 2.4 GPA. Didn't have much career choices. Didn't have an idea what I wanted to do. Got kicked out of the house. Wasn't talking to
Wow.
my mom. Stocking frozen fish. And during this time, my parents and my aunt and my uncles took care of this dog. Her name was Sunshine.
Okay.
Yeah. And while they're out of the country, I took care of Sunshine.
Oh.
And during this time, Sunshine got really, really sick. She actually got pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
And so I had to, navigate that during, a 24-hour period where she just got progressively sicker. And I actually took her to the vet. My parents and my aunt were on a 1 hour away on a flight back, but I had to make some really tough decisions. At that time for my pet, I was around 23, 24 years old. And, after I had to do that on my own, I decided, hey, you know what? This is never happening again. I'm going to go
Wow.
become a veterinarian. And,
my
going to
gosh.
make sure that kids in my position that have to be faced with these tough choices, they don't feel so alone. They have some guidance. And that's really what spurred me into the veterinary field. And, I made up with my mom after that. I said, hey, Mom, I want to do something with my life. I'm going to be a veterinarian. Can you support me? And, love my mom. She's the best. And, I was very blessed enough that she said, okay, let's effing do it.
Oh my
All
God,
And then-
yes.
So we went and
Right.
applied to all the veterinary schools, and now here I am.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
that's
Shout out to your
amazing.
mom. Shout
Yeah.
out to your mom.
Shout out
Loves
to
it.
my mom. Hey, yo,
Yes.
shout out Suna.
Yes, we love you. We
She's
love
the
you.
best.
And,
my
and,
God.
you know what's really crazy? I feel like little things like that, your Sunshine, right?
Yeah.
So Sunshine, as much as it pains the fact that you had lost
Mhm.
this being, I don't even call them animals anymore. I feel like they're just another living
Right.
spirit.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
But I feel like that almost happens. Like, I think everything happens for a reason. And I feel
Yeah.
like maybe that God placed you somewhere where yeah, unfortunately that happened.
Yep.
But let's just be real. I think everything can go to heaven. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But I feel like that happened to create the you
For
are
sure.
today.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we need veterinarians. We need people like yourself that
Right.
are
For sure.
viciously ready to help, you know,
Yeah.
every animal out there that's saying, hey, you guys have a beating heart like we do.
Yeah.
Let's fix
Wow.
you. Let's find a way to cure your problem. And if not, hey, help them kind of through the procedure process, you know?
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. It's not just about, helping the pets, as much as
Mhm.
I love helping pets, and animals are so dear to me. But it's that bond with the owners. So
Yes.
even more so, I like to help the people that are taking care of their pets, how they
Yes.
navigate those difficult waters, and it's
Wow.
it's why, like you said, everything happens for a reason. And it's why after I
Mhm.
opened my own clinic, just a few months ago, it's named Sunshine Veterinary Clinic.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, this is so beautiful.
Thank
From
you, thank you.
sunshine,
Yeah,
the,
things
the
come.
dog too. Oh my God.
Absolutely, yeah. Things come full circle, and it's not
Wow.
just my dog's name Sunshine.
Mhm.
We have a staff with really friendly sunshine
Yes,
personalities. You
yes,
could
yes,
say.
definitely,
So
definitely.
it's kind of what we're building our practice around. So
Wow.
it's really cool.
And I love that when you watch your social media, it truly is sunshine. No,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even kidding. And you're sharing so many different things on your social media on Instagram, and sometimes it might be bloody, sometimes it may not be, but
Yeah.
there's always sunshine. But it's because of you, the doctors,
Yeah.
always smiling, always making, the pet owners feel
Yeah.
so loved. And also one of your quotes, I believe, on your Instagram is
Yeah.
Helping people plus pets.
Yep, that's
And
right.
that
that's
really
right.
touched my heart, because I was like, wow, like I was telling Mr. Eli on the way here,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, it's not just the pets, he really cares for people too. And I felt it,
Yeah.
because there's only a couple lines you can put right there
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that one really,
It's pretty cool. It is about the pets and the people that are connected to it. And like you touched on, it's important to bring a lot of positivity and
Yes,
sunshine and
right.
smiling
So
into the
important.
veterinary field, because as you know, any industry has a high amount of stress
Mhm.
wherever you
Right.
work in any
Yes.
profession. But unfortunately, most people don't know this. You guys probably don't know this. In the veterinary field, the suicide rate is very, very high.
Oh,
The
wow.
burnout rate is
My
very, very high. A
goodness.
lot of our professionals, if you think about even emergency veterinary medicine, the average rate in terms of turnover before they leave that field is about 4.5 years.
Wow.
Which is
Really?
crazy. Yeah, it's less
Wow.
than a football player.
Yeah, that's,
wow.
that's very short.
So I thought, after I went through veterinary school and learned these facts as a late bloomer in the veterinary field, I said,
Yes.
oh my God, I can't believe there's so much kind of darkness in the veterinary field. So I wanted to make sure, hey, what if I started a social media whole thing there, to bring a lot of positivity, to make people, hey, fall in love with the veterinary field. Because I've had associates and colleagues that I work with that have wanted to be vets since they were 9, 10 years old, right?
Okay.
And they come in here, and 5 years later, 6 years later, after being in the field, they burn out. They say, I don't even want to be a vet anymore.
Wow.
I come into work dreading work every day, and that's really sad, because
Yeah.
I came in at 24 years old,
Right.
23 years old, and I said, this is the best
Yes.
job in the world. I love my
Oh
life
my
as a
God.
veterinarian.
Amazing.
Like, let's get everyone to feel that way. So
Yes.
that was important to me as well.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
insane too. I would have never
Yeah.
knew there was any statistics like that, especially
Yeah.
suicide rate. I mean, the compassion. I mean, I'm going to assume, and again, I could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
wrong. The compassion someone has to help an animal cure
Yeah.
them from a problem. At the same time, the impact of losing something that you
Yeah.
could possibly control at a certain
Yeah,
point, because obviously you can't control life of an animal at every
Of
point,
course.
but you do your best. Do
Yeah.
everything you can to fix that.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually on that,
yeah.
if we could talk about this, so do you believe that this, these calculations of people, in the veterinary field getting out of the field or taking their own lives or whatever it may be, I see this a lot. Sometimes people, you see this like on movies, or you see people watching movies,
Yeah.
and most people care about the and I'm turning red about this.
Yeah.
Most people care about like the animal that passed away than like a group of people that passed away.
Yeah.
And so is there something like connected to that? Are people just more emotionally when like a pet passes away, like they're just so connected to it? Because I literally see this all the time on movies. And
Yeah, I think Eli started out the question really well. Mike, you finished it off really well. What you guys are kind of describing is very similar to a sense of hey, I I brought this pet into my household. I'm responsible for their care and their well-being and their health and their happiness, right?
Yes.
And so when you have that deep-rooted feeling of responsibility, right? When something goes wrong or the pet is really sick, okay, as a pet parent, okay, now it feels almost like a pediatrician taking your kid to the pediatrician. You feel like, okay, I have to be really, on top of it for my pet because this pet just brings me happiness when I
Right.
come home to it.
Yes.
I need to do the same. And when people don't have, for example, the finances or the understanding of how to do so, okay, some of the frustration boils over, and veterinary professionals can't get the brunt of it. But it's okay. It's about understanding where these people are coming from. None of them are really malicious about it. Okay, I think people are just a little frustrated sometimes. They want to do their best and they don't know how. And it can burn out some veterinarians, but if you think about the people and you try your best to put yourself in their shoes, it makes it a little bit easier.
I can imagine the impact too, because we have 2 dogs, 2 beagles,
Yeah.
beautiful dogs. We have a little cat. We call him Wesker. He's Wesker. It's named after a game, so I know, we're nerds. Okay?
No.
So,
Cool.
but I would literally be devastated
Yeah.
if he passed away,
Yeah.
or even injured.
Yeah.
Like I know how that feels even for you, because they're not, in many cases. How do you when you bring them in and they're injured, do you ever fall in love with them? Does that happen to you even though they're not yours?
Yeah, absolutely. This actually the most common way veterinarians end up with pets is because a good Samaritan brings in something that's sick or broken and needs fixed, and we bring the pet in, and it's our first time meeting them, and you're like, oh, this pet has such a good personality and a broken leg, let's see what we can do to split him up and fix him. And then you're like, hey, we gotta find it at home. And then like people come in and look at it, you're like, honestly, I just want to keep this dog now.
Right.
And that's what happens, with
Got
our
it.
pets, or if people don't have the finances, for example, to take care of their pet. And West Covina isn't the most luxurious area. There some people cannot afford it, and they have to surrender their pets to the veterinary clinic so we can care for them. That's how we end up with pets as well. So there's a number of reasons, but we do get that connection with pets when they come into the hospital, especially pets that have been our clients for now 3 years, 5 years. We've seen them as puppies, now we see them as old pets. So a few years into the career, you start building these connections with the pets and the pet owners.
Wow, I love that.
I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about being a vet? Because I was in dental, and most doctors are doctors of a certain type of part of the body. I was a doctor. I was working with doctors of dentistry, just focused on the mouth. But when you go on your Instagram or your social media, you're doing dental work, you're doing, doing stomach work, you're doing, so many different types of things. So you're not just a doctor of dental, you're like a doctor of a variety of things. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So, veterinarians, there's a bunch of categories and specialties, just like with human medicine. What I do is general practice, so we call it GP, and urgent care. Yeah, but a lot of other, veterinary professionals go into, hey, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon or a cardiologist or a neurologist. And, those require, extra, 4 or 5 years of schooling, specialty. So you'll see these pockets of specialists that I refer to, when I can't handle cases in my clinic. So, for example, a Doberman with a congenital heart issue, we can't handle over here without an echo in GP, we send them out to specialty. But what I do is a general practice, and the reason why, and the number one reason why, and I'm going to harker a little bit back to my upbringing over here.
Yes, please.
Is because I like to work for the community.
Okay.
So I grew up in Diamond Bar, like I said a little bit earlier. I grew up in Diamond Bar as a parachute kid. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before.
Yeah. I haven't.
So
So
a parachute kid, in the 626 909 area, basically is when we're 15 or 16 years old, and we're old enough to drive, right? Our parents who immigrated here in the 1980s, they don't speak really good English.
Right.
They can't really find, really high paying jobs, or struggle to find a career that really fulfills them over here. So once we're a little bit more independent, my parents actually went back to Taiwan and China.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And to make a living for us, and provide for me and my sister. So they went over there. They came back maybe once every 4 months or so.
Wow.
And me and my sister are really left to our own devices.
No
and
way.
yeah.
Oh
And
my
they would only
gosh.
come back for 2 weeks at a time. So I was
Okay.
really raised by that community, in
Got
the
it.
greater SGV area. The boba shops, like literally like Lollicup and Quicklies, back in the day. They would let me sit there for hours and do
Wow.
homework. Little
No.
Cantonese seafood restaurants would
I
let me
love this.
put these chairs together, take naps.
No
Mongolian
way.
barbecue restaurants would let me eat with their staff,
Wow.
like after
God.
school and stuff like that.
And
It
like
was
they just
really
knew
cool.
because you guys were all a community, so they're
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah, and it's not super uncommon in my area. There
Got
was
it.
like about 10 of us that hung out in the same grade
Okay.
in high school. They called us the lonely boys.
Okay,
Because our
okay, I
parents were
like
here,
it.
and
I like it.
whoever's parents were back in
Uh-huh.
town, we all just slept over there.
Oh my God.
Got it.
And
Wow,
so
that's
yeah,
oh my
it's
gosh.
pretty cool. So
Yeah.
because of that, community is so huge to me.
Mhm.
The gym owners that left the doors open till 11 so I could shoot hoops until late.
Yes.
These are the people that the aunties and uncles
Mhm.
Right.
in our lives that made a big impact on me. So when I became a veterinarian,
Mhm.
I said, hey, I had to become a general practitioner so I could really be back in my community and be that first line that the pet parents look to, the aunties and uncles that need my help. I can give back to the community that helped raise me. And now I do see those aunties and uncles every day.
Oh my
I
God.
help them out with their
yes.
pets. It's my
Yes.
absolute pleasure to watch them. I as much as they see me grow up, I get to see their pets grow up and their kids grow up and take care of them as they slow down a little bit. So I to my community, I love you guys,
Right,
man.
Yes. Oh my God. Love
So,
it. Love
so in
it.
your upbringing, I mean, you brought up the fact that your parents left. I mean,
Yeah.
only saw you guys a couple of times out of the year.
Yeah.
So how did that impact you mentally? Socially, it sounds like you were more around like the lonely boys, but
Or the auntie and uncle.
the
Yeah,
auntie and
yeah.
uncles. But there must be some kind of emotional impact.
Right.
Like to this
Yeah.
day,
Yes.
has there been something you've collected from those experiences that maybe make you who you are today?
And just from your upbringing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
was there a time?
Yeah.
Because I can only
yeah.
imagine, like, if my parents weren't around, I probably would be a mess.
Yeah, and honestly, most of us were kind of a mess.
Okay,
Like I
okay.
talked about, how I didn't have much of a career. We were kind of left to our own devices. We lost our way, and we, a lot of us do. So, we were on our own. I went to college, had a 2.4 GPA,
Right.
and my parents were sending me money, every month.
Mhm.
And when I graduated college, they came back and saw that I was kind of screwing around and said, hey man, we've been providing you all this time. What are you doing with your life? And from there I have another resentment, like, hey, you left me, like what do you expect?
Got
And of
it.
course there's a
you
little
go.
bit of a clash, right?
course.
So and that's why I got kicked out of the house
Got it.
for about 2 years.
Oh, there you
Didn't
go.
talk to my mom,
Oh wow.
but after I decided to become a veterinarian, and me and my mom had a heart to heart. Now me and my mom are best friends. We go
Oh my
watch
God.
movies together
Love
now.
it.
I actually live with them now, which I
Amazing.
wasn't able to do from 16 to 28.
Oh wow.
We didn't live with our parents at all. So it's nice to be back home
Right.
with mom and dad and
Yes.
kind of just see and talk and listen to their stories,
This is
listen
so
about their
amazing. Wow.
sacrifices. And
Wow.
it makes you as a now as an adult work that much harder, because you think about
Mhm.
how much sacrifice they went through, how hard they worked,
Wow.
and that's the very least I can do, right?
Wow.
So
Oh my gosh,
there you go.
amazing. So that 2
Wow.
years was needed where you were
Oh,
kicked
yeah.
out, right?
Oh yeah, I needed
Yeah.
I needed my butt kicked.
Right,
for
right.
sure. Like that's
Exactly.
I
uh,
think Mike was
yeah,
actually
you
kicked
know.
out too.
Right, right. It was like
Mike, you were
16.
kicked out
I think
too?
I
Yeah.
was 16 too.
I actually was not.
I was like,
so
okay,
I was
okay.
not. I was a good boy.
Right.
He was-
was
he
I
was-
had
he was a good-
4.0s
he was a
and
good kid.
everything.
But I was like, hey, we're all sitting here in Rodeo now.
Hey,
so,
yeah, right?
It worked out either way,
We're
right?
Just a
pretty
couple of
good.
bad boys and Eli, no,
Exactly.
I just
Exactly,
play. I
right.
just
Hey,
play.
people were copying
For
my
real.
homework, so I don't know.
Wow.
It worked out. They were my best friends.
Hey,
my
Which
God.
explains why.
Wow.
Right.
there you go. There you go.
God. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
And
okay.
Go ahead.
So-
We're so interested in
No,
everything
no,
that
no.
you do.
So I'm gonna get into something really probably deepening, and maybe it might hit an emotional trigger. So
Yeah, yeah.
in the process of doing your clinical work, you're doing maybe surgeries and things like that with your animals.
Right.
What has been maybe the most intensive, most aggressive, maybe something that has been very difficult for you to save one of the animals' lives? Has there been a procedure or something that you just thought this would work or wouldn't work, and somehow something happened with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a really, really good question. Yeah. So, in my career, I see, man, about 30 pets a day. 4 days a week for the last, I don't know, 7 years of
Oh
my
my
life.
goodness.
It's a lot of pets. I
That's
see
a lot of
maybe
pets.
4,000 plus patients
That's
a
a lot
year.
of
Wow.
pets. Oh my
So
goodness.
the number of easy cases, there's a lot. The number of difficult cases, there's a lot. Yeah, and
Yes.
contrary to what you think, yeah, the surgical cases that need a surgical fix in a moment of need, those are the easy ones. Okay,
Okay.
because if you have a chance to cut, you have a chance to cure.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Wow.
But the ones that are difficult are those internal medicine cases where it needs, criticalist or critical care. And the owners don't have a lot of money for diagnostic testing, and you're kind of working in the dark a little bit, trying to eliminate things through different treatments. Yeah,
Mhm. Yes.
those are a
Yes.
little bit more difficult, and even more so are the ones where you have all the diagnostics ran in the world. Yeah,
Mhm.
you try to eliminate as much as you can. You run blood work, you run X-rays, you run ultrasound, and you still can't figure out what's going on. That can happen,
Got it.
and those are the cases that stick with you,
Mhm.
because you early in your career and with any doctor, you're gonna feel like, is it because I'm not good enough? Yeah,
Mm.
is it
Makes
because
sense.
I don't have enough experience in here that I couldn't save
Got
this
it.
pet?
Got
So early in my career, and I'll tell this story, and it's just the feelings and the emotional, roller coaster that this was a pet named Dodo,
it. Okay.
and Dodo had a very easy to manage diabetic case for a very long time. Then, towards the end, it got a little bit more difficult. He started becoming insulin resistant. You up the dose of insulin, and then it got sensitive, and you decrease the doses of insulin, and then it becomes resistant again, and it goes into a diabetic crisis, and so on and so forth, and it becomes this whole balancing game that got really, really tough, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
However, end stage diabetes, that's kind of what it looks like,
Mhm.
right? But as a young veterinarian, you just know you're trying to find your best. You say, hey, you know what? I'm trying to find the best therapy for this dog.
Yes.
And it's definitely a struggle. And towards the end, Dodo did pass away.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Sorry to hear that.
And yeah,
Bless
and
Dodo.
the feeling of it at the time was, damn, am I not good enough
Got
to help these pets? And it's not really your fault. It's just what the
Right.
end stage looks like. But the
Of
feeling is
course.
that you have that imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
and you look towards your mentors, right? Mentors that have been in there for 15 years, 20 years,
Yes.
and you say that probably wouldn't have happened with them if they had an older doctor, maybe yada yada yada, and you play your mind games like that.
Right.
And so after we euthanize the pet, okay, I actually, yeah, and I don't get emotional in
Okay,
the
yeah.
hospital. I try to be, an even kill leader for everyone.
Of
Mhm.
course.
But in that very instance, I had to close the doors to the room,
Oh, man.
hold on to that dog,
Oh,
and I
no.
probably sobbed for about 10 minutes
Ugh.
and just apologized to the dog. The owners had left,
That is
my
hard.
staff is gone.
That's hard.
Yeah. So it's definitely tough. That's
Mm.
those are the toughest cases as a young veterinarian. And then you talk to people, and you talk to internal medicine doctors, and you talk to your mentors, and you honestly didn't do anything wrong. That's
Right.
just
Right.
that's just the circle of life, and his
Exactly.
time came. But you can't
Yes.
help but feeling that way as a young
Yes.
doctor. So those are probably the toughest cases. I
Wow.
think as you get a little bit older, you understand it a little bit better. You're able to take that step back,
Mhm.
and you can see the forest through the trees instead of
Mhm.
just being stuck in that vicious cycle. But it was definitely a tough lesson learned, and I think every veterinarian as a young new graduate
Mhm.
is going to go through that, and
Mhm.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Take the lumps, and now that I'm an older veterinarian per
Okay.
se, I'm able to mentor these veterinarians, and I'm here to help. So a lot of my students reach out to me and talk to me
Love
about
it.
these cases, and I'm able to talk to them and share this story like I just did with you guys, and tell
Right.
them, hey, it's gonna be okay, and it's okay to feel really crappy for a little bit, okay, and just let it out, and let's take a step back maybe tomorrow, and let's take a dive into this, and you're gonna see that you did everything right. You know, your training is enough.
And it's good that they have a mentor like you, because considering like what you said about the suicide rate, I'm sure there's a lot of veterinarians that probably don't have the right mindset. Maybe their experiences made them a little bit more thick-skinned or whatever. But now you sound like you're a lot more open to discussion. Like maybe it's molded you into who you are now. And I feel like things like that, like sometimes me and him, when you go home, you take work with you. You go home and you probably take the emotional day of like, God, like I saved one, didn't save one. So it's a little bit difficult, but it does make you more attuned to show that to other people. Like show them the example. Hey, look, this happened. Here's how you can learn from it. And you know, you're only 35. So imagine 10 years from now when you're 45, and as you grow older, like you said, we start becoming more mature, more wiser with our information that we give out to our people. And I think that's pretty magnetic, because I don't know anything about the veterinarian field, but I'm sure like in real estate, it just requires a lot of repetition.
Is reps.
A lot of, exactly. A lot of time input into that.
And then you can let it, you know, there's a few ways you can go about it. You know, for me, I don't know if this is toxic or not, but when that happened, you know, right after that, I went to work. You know, I really didn't feel like I was good enough, and it really drove me to work that much harder than my colleagues and my contemporaries. People that working 4 days a week, I said, no, I'm going to go work 28 days in a week. 28 days in a row, or 16 days in a row, and get those, like you said, repetitions, and get those repetitions, and you know, see as many cases as I can. 20 pets a day. No, let's see 30 pets a day. And you know, get that experience up, and you know, it can motivate you. It can make you feel certain ways, but either way, I think it's important as a mentor to show, hey, you know, their students how to kind of deal with it. Everyone can deal with it their own way, but letting them know, hey, it's okay to feel that, and then you can, you know, go different ways about it that can be healthy for you. So when in a field that can be so dark, it's important to listen to them, and see what works for different people. It's not cookie cutter.
No, definitely. And sharing your story, I mean, it definitely touched me, and I know the audience who's watching, or maybe there's other vets out there, again, I'm sure they needed to hear this, so they could just, you know, go on with knowing that it's okay. You know? Even though it is a hard thing, you know.
For sure.
And that brings me to another question in regards to you being a vet. You know, doctors mostly have to deal with, you know, another human being, and most human beings have mostly the same type of personalities, or act the same or whatnot. You know, you work with a lot of different animals. Do you feel like they have all their own personalities, being different type of animals, like a bird or a cat or a dog? Like you have to learn how to work with all these different type of you know, species, and also their personalities. You know, can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like it's similar to working with people, but instead of, you know, different individuals, it's different individuals plus different species. So not only is each species a little bit different, each individual pet is a little bit different. You know, you're gonna see, you know, 3 for example, calico cats in a row, and you're gonna have one that's really chill, and you're gonna have 2 that are gonna try to bite your face off. So so you know, you can't approach them all the same way. You do have to take a second, take a beat to kind of look at their body language, see what type of feel you have, also get a feeling for the client as well. You know, like, hey, you know what, is this person who is okay just letting you handle their pet, or do they want to be really involved? If they want to be really involved, how do we make sure that the pet parent doesn't get injured by angry pet cat or angry dog, in this situation? So each one is a little bit different. It's honestly, that for me, that's the fun of it. You know, I almost got bit this morning by a dog, and I just said, whoop, too slow. You know, I moved my hand out the way, you know, and it's still part. It's still part of the joy of veterinary medicine. I'm sure one day I'm gonna get bit, and I'm not gonna say.
So you haven't got bit yet.
When I was a nurse before I started, you know, as a veterinarian, I got bit all the time. My reflexes were a lot slower back then. But you know, you kind of get a better feel for things nowadays. You're gonna see like the scars here and there, you know, from back in the day. So you learn a little bit, and I'm very lucky lucky to have very awesome nurses. Honestly, they're
Lovely.
amazing, and
Yes.
they make sure that I don't get beat up or anything like
Right.
that. So,
Yes.
you know, the nurses play a role, pet parents
There
play
you
a
go.
role, different
Yes.
species, different individuals play a role, but it's all
Right.
fun, man.
And what kind of what different animals have you worked on? You know, cats, dogs.
Yeah, so dogs and cats, I would say, make up about 95% of
Yes.
my, you know,
Mhm.
patient base, just because
Right.
that's what I specialize in.
Love
Every
it.
once in a while, you'll have someone bring in like a
Mhm.
snake,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
that
Okay.
has diarrhea,
Oh my
or
god.
with a cyst on its eye, yeah, and then you
Way.
try your best to treat it,
Ah.
or even a hamster with
Oh wow.
some issues. Or recently, I saw a rabbit with some, you know, basically a bacterial infection, you know, and then you still have to treat them the
Of
best you can.
course,
But if you
yes.
can't,
Mm,
it's okay,
got
because
it.
remember, we have
Yes.
specialists in our
Right.
field.
Or an
Okay,
And we
got
have
it.
specialists that handle
Right.
exotics. So one of my friends, her name is
Mhm.
Sydney.
Uh-huh.
She's the one I call to come into my clinic.
Mhm.
You know, we don't want to turn people away. We want to
Of
be able to
course.
provide for them and say, hey, can you come into my clinic? We have this, you know, snake that's really sick.
Mhm.
Do you think you could help? And we make an appointment, and she comes in and does the surgery for the snake's eye
Okay.
and things like that. So it's
Yes.
pretty cool
Wow.
stuff.
Love it.
I
Love
think I would say that snake was probably the coolest case that I've worked with.
it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you just have like random cases coming in every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every day. It's
Yeah.
like
you don't know
you
what's
know
gonna
how,
come
you
in
know,
those
yeah,
doors.
you know how what
Yeah.
Forrest Gump says, huh? Life is like a box of chocolates. You know,
Exactly. Yes, yes.
That's exactly what it's like.
Oh my god, definitely.
What how do you feel like when there's an animal you want to care of, and then you know there's a procedure that needs to be done?
Yeah.
And this kind of happened to us, but I'll share it with
Yeah.
after I ask you the question. How do you feel when the patient's parent, so to
Yeah.
say, can't afford to do the process,
Ooh.
and so the animals, they're
Yeah,
ready
they-
to probably die
Yeah.
without the funds from the parent to help? Because
Yeah.
we and before you answer it, me and him had one of our dogs. He was ran over by a car.
Right.
Well, not ran over completely, but like his leg was severed.
Yeah.
Severed off, but it was like peeled off and all that. And we were at a time running through a financial problem years
Yeah.
ago, and we were both
Yes.
looked at each other. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
We can't afford thousands of dollars to fix our beagle.
Yeah.
And he's still with us, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was expensive, but luckily we had enough money through 5 different credit cards to pay it.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
got to be a situation where somebody in your case has been like, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do in those cases, or how do you feel about that?
Man, those are the toughest cases.
Right.
Those are really just the toughest cases. I think this was a much bigger issue maybe 10 years ago, when back then, if people couldn't really afford the care for their pets, then they had to be put in a position where they had to make a very tough decision.
Yes.
Okay, you say, hey,
Yes.
I don't have the money. Do I have to? And I'm gonna use the scary E
Mhm.
word.
Right.
Do I euthanize my pet because
Right.
I can't afford to pay for it? Back then, that was all you could do.
Mhm.
You could do that,
Mhm.
or you can give up your pet to someone who had the funds to do that.
That's right.
Okay, those were really the two options.
Tough
Okay,
times.
tough times.
Definitely.
And you know, nowadays we're really lucky. We're really lucky. So in the veterinary field, we have now care credit.
Yes.
Similar to you use
Mm.
at your dentist, you know,
Yes.
with your dentist, care credit can help a lot of pet parents. Pet insurance is now way more popular.
Mhm.
I'm actually shocked by the number of pet parents in my community where 10 years ago I was seeing them as a nurse.
Uh-huh.
Nobody had pet
It
insurance.
was just like
Yep.
all cash.
Yep,
or-
all cash
Right.
or you know, just paid out of pocket.
Right,
And nowadays,
right.
I would say 40% of the pet parents in my
Mhm.
community, which
Wow.
I'm grateful for,
Yes.
are aware of pet
Uh-huh.
insurance.
Right.
Maybe 30% have them, which is still a low number,
Right.
Mm.
but better than
But,
what it was.
yeah,
It used to be 0
right.
to
Zero,
5%,
right.
you know. And now there's pet insurances that will cover you day of,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, those are all options that I'm really thankful for. Okay,
Yes.
nowadays,
Yes.
and I don't have to say that, hey, either, you know, you might have to euthanize your pet here,
Right.
versus, you know, that there's something you can do, but you have to, you know, give a ton of money here to give up financially, you know. So I'm lucky I don't have to be in that position very much.
Mhm.
But back in the day, it was
Yeah.
definitely really tough. And you say, hey,
Definitely.
I'm gonna do my best, and you just play around with the costs. You know,
Right.
back then I worked with four people. Said, can we take this off? Can we take this off? Can we take this off? This is the best care I can provide with this limited amount of funds. Your dog might have this much of a chance, but it's better than nothing. And even now, when I run into situations like that, that's what I try to do.
Amazing.
And then, of course, the last two resorts are euthanize or, you know, give up your pet. And I'm very lucky that, man, we barely have to do that anymore nowadays.
That's a blessing.
It was. I bet it was really difficult for you guys back then. I don't know how many years ago you guys had to deal with.
I think
the
it's
beagle
it
issue.
happened to us about
Like
around
5?
8 years ago.
Was it?
Yeah,
Is that
8,
older?
and that's
Yeah.
like when Care Credit was getting pretty popular. So if we could be very
Oh, that's
honest,
right. That's right.
Yeah.
half of our payment to save our dog was whatever we had, and then the other half was the Care
Care
Credit.
Mhm.
So it
Perfect.
actually saved our dog's life. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you guys had to go through that,
No,
because
yeah.
during that time it was so hard to find.
it was,
There's like 2 pet insurance companies that's it back
That's
then,
right.
you know.
Right.
So
Yep.
right,
nowadays there's a lot more. And
Oh,
man,
love
you
that.
guys, I'm happy, you know, you
yeah.
guys got through
Yes.
that, because
Yeah.
that must have been so hard.
Oh yeah,
That was so
and-
difficult. I mean, looking at each other and saying like, we have no money.
Yeah, like
That
we
was-
literally
that's
went
tough.
outside, already made the decision, and then we took back our decision because we're like, we'll not eat for like 10 days if we have to.
Just tighten those belts, you know,
Yeah, we
cup
were
noodles
down.
every
We
night.
were like, we're gonna eat some ramen,
yeah,
and we're gonna
exactly.
make this work, and
For
we
sure.
did. And you know, our dog is still with us today. One of the most happiest dogs.
He
ever.
limps, but you know he's
Right,
still walking.
right. But
You know
he's
what?
there with
And
us.
he had like 30 litters
Yeah.
of babies already.
No
so,
way.
So they're
not
everywhere.
that
That's
many.
crazy.
That'll be
Sounds like 30.
that'll be
He
abuse.
said, I'm
Okay,
done.
25? I don't know.
No. I'm
Oh,
glad
yeah.
he's with you guys, man. You
Yeah.
guys, honestly, man, that's
Mhm.
props to you guys.
thank you
That's
so much.
amazing,
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, it's thanks to individuals like you know, who save our. I would say it's our kids to us. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
We look at them like our kids.
Yeah.
Literally, like no
You,
lie.
you try to
And-
get creative with the pet parents who try to help their pets, you know.
That's beautiful.
And these people, the veterinarians that you guys work with, definitely we're not just thinking about your pet. They're thinking
Right.
about your pet, but they're thinking about you guys too.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely successful treatment. One of the things I always wonder about in treatments, because when it comes to animals and humans,
Yeah.
I feel like animals have like this super strength, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, but you look at a cat and you're like, oh, like the cute little cat, his eyes, he looks so cute, but those animals have so much strength you would never believe. They could like rip off your face probably if they wanted to. So when you're putting these animals to sleep,
Mhm.
is it different than putting a human to sleep? Because, you know, I feel like a human can have a little bit more control, or when they're sleeping, you know, they're a little bit more relaxed. But as an animal,
Yeah.
you know, I would think like if they wake up even just a little bit, that super animal strength will just
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
them crazy. Are you ever like nervous? Like, how does this putting the animals to sleep work for you?
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question. General anesthesia, you know, letting them
Wow.
sleep for procedures and things like that is, you know, historically is a little bit tough in pets, you know, because they
Okay.
do have that instinctual fight or flight in
Right.
them, right? And it's not just what drives them, you know, in the clinic to be defensive
Mhm.
when things are being done to them, but also, you know, the kind of a
Yes.
survivability, a survival instinct that they have in them. Okay. So
Right.
we're lucky now, you know, anesthesia has come so far in veterinary medicine. There's been so many improvements that I actually have a whole basically protocol that I created in my clinic just for anesthesia.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
And so depending on this patient's weight, you know, I give
Uh-huh.
this much of this medication. This medication is for, you know, sedation. This one is for pain control,
Got
so
it.
they don't wake up from pain under
Oh, wow.
And then we do
Right.
general blocks, local blocks, and also gas inhalant. So there's a whole thing for it so that anesthesia is as smooth as possible for them.
Amazing.
Every once in a while, you will have a pet who's a little bit more reactive or
Okay.
doesn't respond to it very well. That's
Right.
okay.
Okay.
You know, you give yourself some wiggle room with your anesthesia protocol, and you're
Okay.
able to do a pretty good job. So right now,
Okay, great.
I'm very lucky in my clinic that I don't get situations like that very
Mhm.
often.
Mhm.
Everyone goes down really smoothly, and
Uh-huh.
everyone wakes up really smoothly within
Love
you know
it.
2 hours.
Mhm.
What you worry more for these pets rather than let him go to sleep for a general anesthesia is actually the recovery.
Oh really?
Yeah, so getting the body to go back to normal function
Uh-huh.
on its own
Uh-huh.
2 hours after the anesthesia
Yes.
is the toughest part, because
Got
you're
it.
say, hey, you got to start regulating your own body temperature now. Hey, you're off of the machines. You got to
Mhm.
breathe on
Oh
your
my
own now.
gosh.
Okay, you got to regulate
my
your blood
God,
pressure
makes
on your own
sense.
now. So that is the dangerous time. The time
Because a
before
human,
is
then
the-
you're like, they're gonna come to, and they're like,
gonna
okay,
come
let me
to,
try. But an
right.
animal is just
They,
gonna.
they come to and they're in a kennel, you know, and they're
Okay,
hooked
yeah.
up to these catheters, and they're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
what the heck is going on?
Right.
How did I
Yeah.
get
Oh
here?
my God.
And you know, making sure they have a smooth recovery from there.
Right.
Man, that's important, you know.
God.
And I can
got
imagine
it.
because I mean both of us have had anesthesia before. He
Yeah.
had a surgery. I had a surgery.
Yeah.
And I swear I don't remember
Right.
at all like 2 hours before and
Yeah.
at least maybe 4 hours after.
Dang.
So
Mike, did he say anything crazy? Did
a
Eli
little
say
bit.
he
crazy
probably
stuff?
asked me some
Yeah.
very revealing questions.
I was like,
and
I'm
don't
leaving.
remember.
I'm leaving.
He said he's
I'm packing my
leaving.
bag.
It's okay. I interrogated him
You
too when he
did?
was on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So about that one time.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I was like, what did I say?
I was under the influence. So
Exactly.
nothing.
You're
What
right.
stays, what's said in this room stays in this room.
Wow.
okay?
Exactly.
So question. Your Instagram is amazing. That's
Thank
how we
you.
actually fell in love with having you come to our
Yes.
podcast. You're
Literally
charismatic.
the sunshine.
Yeah, the sunshine and
just-
everything.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's what pulls our guests in. So you were
Yeah.
brought in by the fact that we went on social media and you
Yes.
popped up in our Explorer page. I'm like, oh, who's this guy about?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yes.
you just have this fascination about the smile, the giggling, the
Yeah,
enjoyment
yeah.
of your social media.
Right.
So is that part of like your job? Do you feel like that's who you are in real life, or is that just kind of like a thing you do just to get people to like you?
No,
I was like, I think
yeah,
you can
that's
see
part
here
of-
today.
I think I
but
could
no,
tell, but I,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like a
yeah.
question.
Oh,
but
no.
Well,
Let's see.
this is pretty much me. I'm a pretty happy guy. I would say I think it's part of just feeling blessed. Yeah.
Okay, yes,
I really feel blessed to be in this field. I get to do something that I love every
Yes.
single day. And the fact that I get to share it on social media, all right, that's really cool.
That's cool.
And I didn't go into this to you know create a social media following or anything like that. Honestly, I created a you know strange detour here. I actually created a pet supplements company during COVID.
Okay.
When veterinary visits were backed up, you know, 3 to 5 weeks at a time. I don't know if you guys remember. It was crazy, right? And there's only drop-off appointments. It was super inconvenient during that time. And I wanted to help people in my community because people were saying, hey, Dr. Z, man, my dog's having diarrhea and I can't see you for 3 weeks. What can I do to help, you know?
Right.
And so during that time, I created this pet supplements company so I could say, hey, here's some antidiarrheals and probiotics.
Amazing.
Hopefully you don't have to see me, see if this
Yes.
works. And it somehow caught the attention of some TV producers on USA Network. I went on TV and from there they said, hey, you need a social media. And I said, what are you talking about? They said, just post every day and see what happens.
Okay.
And I did that, you know, just kind of sharing what I do every day and this somehow blew up. So I'm glad you guys, you know, found me. I've always been curious though, like how yeah, I see your podcast. You guys have people from so many different industries come in here and talk to you guys. How do you find us? What makes you guys want to reach out to someone that's outside of the real estate, you know, bubble and talk about, you know, subjects that you guys have to learn and you know, find interest in and it's pretty amazing how you guys are able to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would say, you know, the way we reach out to our guest is how Mr. Eli was saying, it's really the energy that we see excuse me. Sorry. It's really the energy that we see through like social media, like do they match with our energies, or like more so are they like helping to change the community? So like yourself, like you could just, you know, you're working in the community you grew up in, you know, just that to us means everything, because we also are individuals who want to help the community. We want to be you know, people at one time where we're building like mini houses for the homeless, and
that's crazy.
You know, we have offices here in LA, so we want to help the city of Los Angeles. Yeah. So anything we can do to just have the same energies around us, that drive around us, and then to know that our audience are going to get, you know, these amazing stories, you know, from individuals that came from, you know, being kicked out of their homes and not having their, you know, parents for months to, you know, being able to sit here today and call yourself a doctor.
And we all have very similar stories. We all share something collaboratively. Yeah. So when we do these podcasts, we get to almost read a book, like a chapter in your life, and we get to learn something. So trust me, walking away from here, I'm probably going to go squeeze my cat. Like, you're not going anywhere, you know, and my dogs. But we do these because, let's be real, we are in real estate, we're in mortgage. But all of us do some kind of business to grow together. We are going to one day network or run into you in the street, and we want to be like, hey, how's it going? You know, we're all about building bridges, not breaking them or burning them. But at the same time, we learn a lot. And we also know that everybody who sits on that chair needs real estate. Everybody always has a desire
yeah.
to buy, to own,
For
to
sure.
invest,
Yeah.
right? It's never just let me go to work. At the end, you're like, what am I working for?
Yeah.
What am I building? How am I
Yeah.
going to create that foundation? So that's
Yeah.
really our purpose. Is not just
That's really cool.
gaining insight and education, but
Yeah.
one day, unless you already own, one day you might own.
I don't.
You know, you
Right.
might
So
want
there
to
you
own it.
go.
And there's programs for
Right.
that. You know, it's, and
Yeah,
it never.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not really the purpose. We don't come here. Let's take your app.
No,
Right.
no,
You
no,
know,
no, for sure.
but
for
it's
sure.
really more of information transfer
Yeah.
between each other.
We were,
No, that's
I
really
was
cool.
walking in here. One of our real estate agents was saying how she loved our show, and I just
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to share this because
Mhm.
it's part of the answer. And
Yeah.
she's like, you know, you guys actually take your time to sit down and have small talk, have a conversation, and it's
Yeah.
not all business. And
Yep.
she's like,
Yeah.
you know, we need that in this world because everybody who is in business, we never slow down to have a conversation like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
You know, you're a doctor, you know, you're working so many hours. You even said 28 days straight sometimes. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I would say we are totally the same way.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't even
exactly.
think we remember our day off.
On the
'cause
way
we've been
here, we
working.
were
Yeah.
even like, have we taken the day off?
Right,
No, we
right.
worked all weekend.
So, you know,
Literally.
for her to say, you know, that you guys slow down and you guys actually talk about people's lives, that's what people need in this
Yeah.
world. And I was like, thank you for saying that. you
No,
know? It's
that's
like,
actually really, really
you
cool.
know?
It's just you touched on it. That's actually crazy because we go to these, you know, we're doing business all day.
Yes.
We're working on our craft.
right.
And then when we go to even I went to a veterinary convention just 2 weeks ago, you
Right.
know, a conference, and you're having, you know, 5-minute conversations with like 80 different people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you don't really get a chance to sit down and talk. So
Yeah.
sitting down here and talking with you guys and kind of
Mhm.
sharing, you know, these things that
Yes.
I'm not really even able to share with everyone all the
Right.
time, you know.
No, yes.
It's super cool.
Oh,
It's super
thank
cool.
you.
And I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you guys are doing this because there's so many interesting
Appreciate
stories
that.
out there. I didn't even
Yes.
think my story was all that
Oh my
interesting
God,
growing
no.
up as a kid until, you know, recently when I
Mhm.
went on TV and they're like, hey, this story needs to be shared. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
it's not something that everyone in the 626 goes
Mhm.
through.
Right.
Right.
No, yeah.
Hey, is
Well,
this-
kind of. I think I kind of shared some of that.
Yeah.
No, it is
Yeah.
really a great story. And I'm
Yeah.
sure now that you get to tell the story,
Yeah.
like you said, now you're like, okay, it is a good story. I need to
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
this.
yeah.
It helps people, you
It
know, but
does.
you didn't know that.
Yeah, I
before,
didn't know
you know?
how impactful it would be or how much it
Yeah.
helps people. So, you know, man, thank you guys. You guys
Right.
are
No.
you guys are amazing. You guys are
Thank
doing
you.
awesome
Thank
stuff here.
you.
This is
Thank
crazy.
you.
Love it.
I think we all are, and I feel like all of us have a certain way to impact life one way or the other. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, real estate. This podcast is really just to empower even you,
Yeah,
because at the
yeah,
end, when we collaborate on our medias, you're going to
Yeah.
be able to show other people
yeah,
the other side of the world. Like, wow,
Yeah.
like I just found out more about Dr. Z. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yes,
that.
right.
Now I share with,
yeah,
because there's a lot of people that grew up just like you.
yeah,
That
Yeah.
their parents were in a different country.
Yeah.
My parents actually traveled here.
Yeah.
There were immigrants at the time.
yeah.
Mhm.
And they didn't abandon me, so it was a little different. But your
No,
parents
it's all
didn't
right. It's part
abandon
of
me.
it. It's
But
part of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
part of it.
It's part of it, but
Everything's for a
they
reason.
threw me on school
Right.
at school.
Yeah.
I only knew how to speak Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but they threw me at school. I'm like, learn English. I'm like, Jesus, I don't
Jeez.
even know where do I start. So I understand the
Yeah.
culture were brought into, and it
Yeah.
was probably very difficult. But
Yeah.
you attuned yourself to, and you're like, forget, it, I'm
Yes.
gonna learn. But there's a lot of people that have those impacts in their lives,
Yeah,
and it's good that you're able to keep yourself together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
that's-
because it's hard.
cool.
There's a lot of people, like you said, the suicide rate. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even know that. That's
Right.
crazy.
It's cool. I mean, it gives you know, us a chance to be good role models for everyone.
Yeah.
I think the
Right.
representation is huge, and
Yes.
you guys are what
Oh
you guys
my
are doing
goodness.
here with this and showing everyone,
you.
hey, I can be just like, you know, Eli and Mike, and in the future, you know, and do
Or
this
like
and do
Dr. Z.
that.
Or like Dr. Z.
Dr. Z, let's
You
do
know?
it.
or like me, but
Yes,
mostly
yes.
like, you
Oh
know,
my God,
you guys
not
are, you guys
even,
are way
not
more
even. I want to
impressive.
be like you.
You guys are way more impressive,
Oh my
but
God,
you
not
know,
even.
that's
Love you.
that's so cool for
No,
for
thank
being
you.
good role models here and
Same
using
for
this
you.
platform
Thank you.
as you
I
guys
mean,
do.
you probably should
That's
have
crazy.
a podcast.
Right,
yourself.
right.
You
You guys,
probably-
we
probably
might be
blow it.
seeing
No,
a Dr. Z podcast.
I don't have that personality like you
Oh
guys.
my
I don't
God.
have
No,
that.
you
I
have
don't
a
have
better
that.
personality. That smile, like again, that's
I
exactly.
mean, you
what
can
you're
be the
used
first one to have the podcast with pets.
to.
with
Oh my
pets.
God, that would be amazing. I can see
Well,
it
yeah, we'll
already.
call it a
Yes.
pet corner.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
let's go.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
tuning in right now.
I mean, my cat will say something. Probably just go meow. And
Yeah,
Throw himself on the floor. Probably be the most cutest thing. He'll probably get viral. I don't
yeah,
know if he will.
probably.
So I want to ask a question
Yeah.
because we've been talking a lot about times that were tough because when it comes to doctors' offices, sometimes
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what you
yeah.
automatically think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But honestly, there's times in a doctor's office where it's a really good thing and something happens so successful and you got to go home that night and you were like, man, that felt so good that happened today. Can you give us one of your stories on those times when
Yeah.
one of your patients?
yeah, man. And that's honestly I would say I actually do that every single day.
Love it.
This might be a little
Love
bit
it.
funny to
No,
hear,
this is amazing.
but every day I go into the clinic, and it's a little bit cheesy and Grey's Anatomy-ish.
Love
But
it.
I go
Okay.
into the clinic every day, and I tell my staff, I say, morning. It's a beautiful day to save lives. Let's get to work. And
Yes.
that's kind of the energy that we
Oh
have
my
in the clinic.
God.
And every single day, I get home from work, and I get home like, man, today was a great day. It's been a long time. I don't where actually, I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't had a crummy day in the clinic for a very, very long
Oh
time.
my
I don't
God,
That's
think
fantastic.
I can't even count
Wow.
them off. But every
Wow.
day I come back, I said, hey, we kick butt today. We helped so many pets. Right before I was a little bit late for the podcast today. Sorry guys.
No, we
But
were late
right-
too.
You're saving
'Cause,
lives.
no,
It's
Yes,
no,
exactly.
no, it was really cool.
You know.
We had basically a half day in the clinic. We took three pets in, as walk-ins, that needed urgent care. One cat was, urinating blood,
my
and
goodness.
I said, hey, you know what? Come on in. We
Yeah.
saw the cat. He said, hey, the good news is your cat is not blocked. It's urinating. It's
Okay.
urinating blood. So
Okay.
at least it's urinating, which means its bladder won't burst.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So we were able to run some tests. Okay, start some treatment. Now the cat gets to go home, and
Oh my
start
God.
getting better in the next
Yeah.
3 to 5 days.
Wow.
That is something that small. That's a win.
That's
All
a
right?
huge
That's
win.
that's an absolute win. So
Huge
now
win.
we have 5 of those a day, 8 of those
Oh
a
my
day.
gosh.
All
Oh
right.
my God.
Man, we had so many wins today. What a great day in the clinic. Okay,
Yeah.
and then even when we say have a tough day where a patient doesn't make it, we are actually blessed in the veterinary field to have an option such as it's weird to talk about humane euthanasia. Okay, but we get to give this pet a peaceful passing,
Right. Right.
where they're not suffering anymore.
Exactly.
That is still a win in itself.
Yes,
Okay, and we
yes,
give
yes.
peace to the clients who don't know what to do,
Right.
guidance to these clients that don't know what to do.
Yes.
So urgent situations like that, daily care, daily appointments, things like that. They're all, for me, they're all
Oh my
wins. So every
God.
day I go home, I put my fist, I eat some good food,
There you
and
go.
I
Love
say, hey,
this.
today was a good day, just like
Yeah.
Ice
I love
Cube,
that.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes. We love Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Love it.
So,
love
so I hate to switch it. We're all in like positive moods. I'm
So
in the,
no,
I'm in the
switch it.
sunshine with you right now.
Yeah.
But
We can get real. We can get
right.
real.
Right.
So let's punch you in the stomach real quick,
Yeah.
metaphorically. So if has there
Come
been
on.
a situation that there's a client
Yeah.
of one of the pets that just is so upset
Yeah.
because you were not able to cure the problem?
Yeah. There's,
Right.
that
How do you
happens.
take
That happens, and that's okay. You kind of have to roll with it. I'll give you an example. We actually had a Labrador Retriever, and this doesn't happen that much anymore.
Okay.
But this was probably a couple months ago. This black Labrador, he was in the back of the owner's pickup truck.
Okay.
And you don't do that anymore because they can
Right.
jump out, right?
Right.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened in this situation. The dog saw something that it wanted to go after. It jumped out the bed of the truck, got hit by another car,
Oh, no.
and came in really beat up. Okay. And the owner was really upset. Yeah. And so this pet parent said, hey, you know what? I'm going to sue the bleep out of you if you guys don't fix my pet, right? And so at that point, I'm thinking, hey, man, what? You're mad at me, even though I haven't touched your pet yet.
Right. Right. It
And
makes
you're
no
threatening me
sense.
instead of, mad at yourself for having your dog in the bed of your truck or the person
Right.
that hit your dog.
Yes.
But, when you have pet parents like that come in, it can definitely start putting you guys in a very defensive,
Mhm.
kind of a complicated situation, right? And of course, in this case, I was able to wrap up the dog's leg and splint it and stop
Okay.
any bleeding that happened, and make sure my orthopedic surgeon comes in and takes care of the dog. However, just responding to threats like that
Right.
in the veterinary field,
Mhm.
Yes.
that's not fun, and that's
Right.
something that we do deal with in this
Mhm.
industry, that can make pet care a little bit more complicated,
Of course.
right?
Mhm.
So on the dark side of things, a lot of veterinarians, if something goes wrong there and the pet doesn't make it, for example, if that lab didn't make it that day,
Right.
okay, now what type of consequences am I dealing with, right? How is this client going to feel? Is he really going to come after my license? And those are not always positive thoughts. Those
Of
are
course.
those can get really negative really fast, and
Definitely.
you do want to make sure you keep yourself protected. So document everything.
Of
Make
course.
sure there's witnesses in case of any situation, because anything can happen in veterinary medicine, such as that. So
Right.
strange cases, that's just the most recent one that I can
Right.
think of. We've also had other weird cases. I don't, we don't have to get into all of them.
Oh
I
my
could
God.
write a book.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
and it's insane because we also run into the same things in real estate. It's a very similar problem when maybe escrow's taking longer, or
Yeah.
somebody
Right,
loses their
right.
deposit. They're like, that's $15,000.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it gets very aggressive sometimes in transactions. So I can see how in every level, whoever that person is that is
Yeah.
feeling that they're the victim,
Yeah.
that's the person that's going to leash
Yeah.
out and say, hey, like you're the problem.
Yeah.
right?
How do you guys deal with it? That's so tough that you guys have to deal with stuff
It-
like that.
It's
You
I can
don't.
deal with it. See, the thing is, I've been doing loans
Like-
for 22 years, so
Yeah.
I'm very calm and collective.
Okay.
And everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah. For us, I guess I still call my clients partners. In my mind,
Yeah.
they're my partners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, I am doing a service for them. So,
Yeah.
they're my clients. But we've learned to, and this is hard to say, but learn to, and it may be a little bit different in the real estate world than the vet world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've learned to like fire individuals, which
Yeah.
can be our clients, and for us, maybe it's hard because, some of these clients are families, they have kids, they're living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and they're wanting this home that's going to change their whole life
Yeah.
or make their life better. But if they don't understand
They don't go through it the right way.
exactly, then
Yeah.
sometimes we're just like, okay,
That's-
maybe it's just not the right connection,
Yeah, that's something that we go through in the veterinary field too.
So
If the
like,
clients
have
come
you
in.
ever had to send a client to
Yeah.
another vet?
Yeah,
wow.
unfortunately, you have people who just don't understand,
Right.
and are very aggressive, are very very
Mhm.
rude, and I kind of draw the line at being rude to my staff. You
Right.
can be rude to me, that's okay.
Okay.
But if you're abusive
Mhm,
verbally,
mhm.
or you start to get physical with my
Yes.
staff,
Yes.
absolutely, I'm sending you elsewhere.
Definitely.
That I got to protect my staff. I love my nurses, so I have to make sure
Yes.
that they're protected. So yeah, it can be tough, but you say, you try to be polite about it. I'm sure you do.
Yes. Right.
And you
Exactly.
say, hey, you know what? You don't always connect with the veterinarian at different clinics. You might not like the way we do things here.
Mhm.
You guys are very very welcome to here are some other clinics across the street from me or in my neighborhood.
There
You guys
you
are
go.
very welcome to get estimates for them or talk to them and see if you guys can find service that you guys actually get along with and you guys like. So I'm sure it's the same with you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same. Yes,
Have you guys ever
definitely,
gotten so
definitely.
mad that your like fists are shaking and your hands get red or anything like that?
No, not me.
I
I'm not-
definitely
I-
have. I
yeah.
definitely
I
have.
have no
Yeah, I was
temper.
like,
This is why it works out so perfect because we're
Yeah.
totally the opposite.
Yeah.
No temper.
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
definitely. And it's hard, right? I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Sometimes I have. I
Yeah.
actually don't have very much of a temper at all.
Okay.
But I've gotten to points before where I'm just like
Oh my
shaking it. But
goodness,
you
yeah.
try. You just say, hey, you know what?
Right.
I say, give me
Yeah.
a second. Let me check with management.
Okay.
that
I
gives
love
me a
it.
chance
Wow.
to step
Breathe.
away and breathe and say, hey, you know what?
Yes.
But that's probably
Right.
only happened like 2-3
Wow.
times in my career. in the
Okay, and
last
it's
7
because
years.
the passion you have for
Yeah.
this job, right?
Yeah. It's
so-
how much I love it,
Yeah.
and when it's how much I love the veterinary field. And if someone tries to attack me or
Right.
my license,
Yes.
okay, then I
Yes.
can't kind of get like, hey, you know what? This is
Right.
not right. I'm gonna get if I'm not careful, I might get too defensive.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly. Before we ask one of our last questions, I need to know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have you always been like this happy and energetic and Mr. Sunny?
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
Especially in my professional career, I've been
Okay.
because this is when I felt the most blessed in my life.
So amazing.
After I became a veterinarian, or
Yes.
even when I got actually, man, honestly, the switch really flipped after I got into veterinary school, I
Mhm.
would say, or after I
Amazing.
decided to pursue this passion.
Love
And
it.
every single day, I feel like I've been blessed. Before that, I think maybe 20 years ago, as a kid in high school, I was very different. I would say
Yeah.
I was kind of insecure. I didn't know
Yes.
myself very well at
Mhm,
all.
mhm.
I would get defensive a lot more easily. I had a little bit more of a temper, but
Yeah.
you had to go through that growth.
That's
Of
right.
course,
Right.
of
You had to go
course.
through that growth, and
Yes.
after you go through what you do in life, you kind of become the person you are. And you can say personality tests and things like that, but
Yes.
things do change a little bit.
They
You'll
do.
see there, and it's something that I feel like is important. And it's strange that I'm going to bring up personality tests in a
No, not
veterinary medicine podcast with real estate
We
involved.
use them.
Yeah,
We
you
use
do?
them.
Okay,
We
okay,
To
use
hire
so
people, yeah.
Yes.
I do the exact same thing.
Okay, yeah.
I do the exact same thing. So I think after you become who you are, you take tests like that, you get to know yourself very
Right.
well. And then from there, you kind of think of who you would vibe with,
Yes.
and who you can collaborate and have a good partnership with. So, for example, I'm going to use a Enneagram test. And I recently had actually a lecture. I actually lectured to 150 veterinary professionals.
Oh my gosh.
Some 20 years
Wow.
older than me and
Wow.
things
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
It's very weird. I felt very weird doing that, but
Okay.
I actually was talking about growing happy practices
Mhm.
and hiring and staffing in 2024 in the
Wow.
in today's environment.
Amazing.
And I think an Enneagram test is a very important one.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I was talking to them about that and say, for example, I'm a Enneagram 3, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, I have to understand that, hey, I'm an achiever. This is what I want to do. And sometimes because of that, I'm going to move very fast.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So my manager has to be a very detail oriented person. So
Mhm.
I have my staff take tests.
Love
And my
that.
manager is an Enneagram type 1, detail oriented,
Love it.
perfectionist.
Yes.
I love that.
Things like that. And then the rest of my staff has to be good vibes. Sunshine Veterinary Clinic, we have type
Perfect.
7 Enneagrams in here
Okay.
that like to keep busy, type
Yes.
2s that like to help out,
Mhm.
things like that. So this is all really important when it comes to understanding yourself
Wow.
and keeping this positive energy,
Yes.
not with yourself only, but also in the
People
clinic
around
and
you.
around you. Yeah,
Wow. I
exactly.
love
Do you
that.
guys do the same
That's
thing?
beautiful.
We
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
We use the disc test. Is that what it calls?
Yeah, we do
Have you
the
heard of that
disc
one?
assessment. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't done that one yet. I'm
It's
excited to
similar.
try it out.
Yeah, and it has the personalities and all kinds
Yeah.
of numbers. Who do you match with?
Yeah.
Like what type of person? It's amazing, and it helps definitely our office run more
Yes.
smoothly. We kind of know people.
Yeah.
Some people might be a little bit more lighter when you give
Yeah.
them instructions. Some are like, I need more instructions,
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
let me give you more. So
Yes.
these type of things are so important.
That's amazing. You see this big
Mhm.
smile on my face right now. I'm
Mhm.
actually so excited to learn about this.
Yes.
You guys have
Oh
to
my
send me a
God.
link later.
Oh, we're
Okay.
totally
so that I
sending
can,
it to you.
the
Yes.
better I can understand me and my staff, the better
Yes.
and happier this practice.
There's
is
a
gonna
real
be.
good
So
one
this is
too,
great.
that we
Amazing.
can send. Scarlett?
Yes.
There's a
Yeah.
really good one that's
guys love
extremely
it.
detailed. It tells you to the T what you're good at and even what you're bad at.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's super
that's
amazing.
amazing.
Right.
So
right.
that's cool. Like you said, same mindsets.
Yes.
We're on the same page here.
I
man.
love that. I love that.
So before we close it out,
Yeah.
you're 35 years old. You're a
Yeah.
veterinarian.
Is
you're
it 35 or 25 or?
Stop.
So I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure this out.
35, 35.
Oh yeah, for the experience.
For the
For the
experience.
For
yeah.
experience, and also to
There
explain
you
these
go.
wrinkles.
Oh
yeah.
my
Oh,
god,
wow.
there's not one, but go ahead.
No.
So being 35, you have a lot more to go. You already have been helping a lot of lives. So what's the next big thing for you? So you have one clinic.
Yeah. So
So you have one clinic. See yourself in 5 years. You're going to be 40 years old. What does the future Dr. Z look like?
Yes.
man, there's a lot of amazing things that I think I can do. 7 years going on 8 in this career, and like I said, I haven't felt like I've worked a single day in the clinic.
Wow.
Right. So let's first start off with one clinic. Let's see if we can open another one in the surrounding area where I can help more aunties and uncles.
Yes.
In the 626 909 area, and even in the 714. I spent 3 years in Buena Park growing up as a kid. So this is it's all pretty cool. It's something that I do want to do and expand and provide better veterinary care by not just by myself. I can only do so much.
Of course.
Yes.
But hiring like-minded veterinarians that I've come across all these years that have been really, really impressive and have this similar type of energy. And if I can find more veterinarians like that and create a community of veterinarians within a network of hospitals
Yes.
that are about giving back to the community
Yes.
and have that drive and
Mhm.
passion for helping people and not just pets. All right, that's what it's about that's what it's all about, especially on the vet clinic side. On the other side of things, I'm also, I also have my pet supplements company.
Oh
you know,
yes.
And the pet supplements company is called Wellnergy Pets. Yeah.
Okay.
Wellness and energy, which is, my staff
my
there
gosh.
is
Okay,
has a
okay.
high upbeat energy.
Love it.
And we are actually, our goal there, during COVID was to provide, relief and better home care for
Mhm.
pets,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Especially in times of need. If you can imagine right now, right, if your pet, gets diarrhea,
Yes.
right, the the only option for pet parents right now is, hey, let's pray that it stops in the next 2 weeks or next 2 days.
Right. Yes.
Or go to the vet, right?
Right.
So what I wanted to do with that company is, and I've already done it, is provide better home care and relief. So that if we have an issue like that, we reach for Pepto-Bismol, right?
Right.
So
right.
I created, a Pepto-Bismol.
Oh
for
my
dogs.
gosh.
Wow.
That gives me the chills.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, something like that, something for cuts and scrapes,
Okay.
and so if
Wow.
I'm able on that side of things to even at least like 1 out of 10 pet parents know that there's an option
Right.
in the United States to grab something off a shelf from CVS pharmacies
Yes.
or from
Oh my
online that they can
gosh.
give their pets relief
Right.
and say, hey, my pet's having diarrhea.
Yes.
Man, my kids have school the next day.
Right.
And the next day we have this parent-teacher conference. I have work all day, and maybe the funds are running a little bit low. I can just go to my shelf and grab this Pepto-Bismol for dogs instead of spending hundreds at the vet.
Wow.
Okay, that's what I want. Okay,
That is
so
so
we're
amazing.
working on that for over the next 5 years or so.
Fantastic.
So
That's like
Yeah,
world
yeah,
changing.
yeah.
That's like world changing.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
No, yes.
And always the key in
Mhm.
both businesses, is in even the social media side of things. The mission is always the same.
Yeah.
Help
Wonderful.
people and
Right.
their pets.
Oh my god.
And I really believe, and that's my philosophy in all this. And I'm very lucky. I grew up with good parents and very good mentors.
Yes.
That if you're taking care of people, and you do good things for people and their pets, everything else will come.
Wow.
That's the mission. That's the business model. That's everything. I don't worry about too much. And I think that's why you guys said, hey, why are you so happy? All
Yeah.
day?
Yeah.
Because I don't worry about much else. The rest really will come. And if you look back at the finances, then it'll reflect that. But until then, okay, you really got to believe that, hey, if you do good things, everything else is going to come.
Right.
And that's how we operate over here.
That's so amazing. Love that.
Well,
Love
Doctor,
that.
we want to thank you for being on our
Yes.
show.
Yes.
So we're gonna let you save more lives
Thank
Yes.
you.
and help us crazy people make sure we have pets every time we go home. So,
Amazing.
Right.
so Doctor, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah.
And what platforms are you on?
No, first of all, thank you guys for having
You're
me.
welcome.
You guys are
Thank you.
amazing. I can't
Oh
wait
my
to
gosh.
work with you guys and talk more in the future. You guys
Right.
are amazing people. You guys
Thank
are real
you.
role models in the community.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you.
Yeah, and if people are trying to find me, you can find me on Instagram at dr.zonram Liao, ZONRAMLIAO. Yeah, you might see it on the screen.
There you go.
The pet supplements company is called Wellnergy Pets. If you guys are looking for over-the-counter solutions for your pet and home care, and the veterinary clinic, as we talked about before, is called Sunshine Veterinary Care. So come give me a visit.
Yes, definitely. We're definitely gonna be there visiting you. We have a
sure.
couple animals we're gonna bring in there. So
Amazing,
that's it.
guys. Thank you guys so much. Amazing.
I appreciate you guys for watching this, and also remember, the full YouTube video will be out soon. You watch a couple of reels. We'll collaborate on those, hopefully, if he allows it.
For sure.
But other than that, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you, doctor.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
everyone.
Loves it.
Bye.